Is it worth it ordering from Amazon if you have to make a return? Well, it's a lot different than just walking it down to the store and getting your money back. There's a lot more involved. You've got to find a package to put it in. You've got to print out some labels. You've got to go through an approval process. And it may or may not be worth your money because your shipping is going to be an extra expense to return ship. And some companies charge a restocking fee. So we'll go over all that right now and show you what happened when we tried to return a variety of different items through Amazon. Now here's a product that is some hardware and package of rope. And if we bought these at our local hardware store, we'd be able to walk in with these and the receipt, and we would get our money back directly usually. But if we purchase these from Amazon, there's a bit more of a process involved. So if you have Prime and you're ordering shipments, they will likely be delivered to you 2-day delivery, free shipping. But when you're returning, that's another story. You're likely going to need to pay for the return shipping. If you are placing orders with Amazon online, you also need to know how to return orders because sometimes they will make a mistake. More often, maybe you'll make a mistake. I'm going to show you how, and it's more involved than you might think. Purchase online, it's some specialty hardware. And if I was purchasing this at a hardware store, I could go right down the street with my receipt and get a full refund. On Amazon, it's not so simple. You're going to need to do some things online to prepare. You're also going to need to do some things at your desk or inside your home, like find a box and print the receipt and some other things in order to make the return happen. So if I were going to return this item, I would go to my orders page while I'm logged into my Amazon account, and you'd find it in the list. If it's within the last 30 days, you'll probably find it easier than if it's previous to that. And we're going to use this Napoleon Dynamite movie as an example. Let's just say that we think that movie is just lousy and we want to return it. We come over here and click return or replace item. That part is simple enough. We're going to answer a simple question. Why are we returning the item? We're going to just say, by my mistake. So if we now come up and confirm the return, we'll be given a page where we can print out the return label. So once you confirm that you do want to go ahead and return this item, even though the shipping amount is going to be subtracted off, go ahead and confirm it. You'll have to log back in. I think it gives you a prompt to log back into your account to prove that you are who you are. And then you're going to click this print label button and go to your printer, and I'll show you how to do that next in case it prints too large or too small. Now we've got our print label down here, and we're going to print this, but when we do, you might want to check and see if you need to change the settings. As I mentioned, sometimes it might print too large or too small. If you need to change that, you can go to Properties and Pages per sheet. If you have one printed on one page, then it'll show up like you would think. But you could, if you've never used this feature before, you can print 2 of whatever's showing on the screen onto one piece of paper, or 4. That's usually going to be too small for printing. But if you needed it to shrink a little, you could do that way. I don't know if we need it that way or not, so I'm going to go with 1 per page and hope that that works. Here we go. It's going to print more than 1 page though. It's always 1 or 2 or 3 more likely. This did print the right size successfully, but the first page is a waste because it's instructions, so I could have selected not to print that, but didn't realize till it was done. Here's page 2 with the address label, the correct size, and then page 3 is the packing slip. This needs to go inside the box in case the barcode on the outside gets damaged. They want this one on the inside, and it also gives you your item description to be sure you're putting back the right thing in the right box. We need to pack this up, but I don't really have a box that would be suitable if I was sending it to a person, but we're sending it back to the company, so I'm making do with what I've got here. This is a soup flat, and so I'm going to just do the best I can. Okay, so we're going to use these like tabs. You can cut it however you want it, but this is going to help make the last wall. Hopefully you have a box. We didn't. This is a way to make a box, but we can't seal it up because we have to put the packing slip in, of course. And we also need to put all manner of packing material in here, and that's about all we've got of bubble wrap. So we're going to use what we've got, which is grocery bags. And that will keep it from shaking all around when it's going through the mail. And we're ready for taping and then the label. Okay, so we're ready to tape it up. And it's not going to be perfect like gift wrapping, but it will be shipped back to them. And we want to cover the seams as best you can so it doesn't get damaged on the way. So we'll go over a few edges here. Okay, so we're going to put the label on the outside. We might even cover this whole thing with plastic. And I think it's a good idea to cover it in plastic to make sure in case it gets wet that the ink doesn't run, especially the tracking number. Get a strip of tape over that. All right, so all these packages are ready to go. Some go to the UPS, some go to the United States Post Office, so you better pay attention to what's on the label. Now here's a net that we had ordered. We do not need, it's not what we were trying to order, and so we need to return it. However, in this case, it's not going to be worth it. There's a 50% restocking fee, not from Amazon, but from the vendor themselves. So irregardless of the fact that you are a Prime member or not, irregardless of shipping charges, the vendor themselves charge a 50% restocking fee. So it's gonna be hard to make your money back on that and count your refund as an advantage as opposed to just keeping it. There was also another 20% charge that the vendor had the right to charge. I don't recall the terminology they used for it, but they were also not going to pay for the return shipping. So this was about a $40 item. Subtract half of that down to $20 for the restocking fee, minus another 20% off of that, and add the expense of shipping. It just wasn't worth it to return it, and so we basically are out $40 because there's no way to recoup that. So besides the complications, or not really complications, but inconvenience of having to find a package to ship this in, print out the labels, go through the approval process, had we done that, we would have also wasted a lot of time. So it's good to know what can happen, and you have to do a lot of research to get to the nuts and bolts of whether you're actually going to make your money back, and if it's going to be worth it to go through that return process when you're dealing with returns from Amazon versus your local store. Sometimes it is worth it, sometimes not at all.